Hello everyone, Critbuff here with my third and final installment in this series going over the patch 2.1.4 changes to all the different subclass supers. I saved Warlocks for last because I wanted to get everything else out of the way before talking about what's probably gonna be the most divisive set of changes in this patch, and those are the nerfs to the Nova Warp super. I have a few quick patch notes to go over for the changes to the Dawnblade, Nova Bomb, and Stormcaller first though, so let's get into those. Alright, so Dawnblades. Bungie buffed your Daybreak super damage against minors, majors, and mini-bosses by 43%. That's a lot. That alone is cause for celebration, but you also get a small buff to both of the Daybreak super durations. Bungie improved the time you can spend in Daybreak by 3 seconds, so it's good, not great, but good. These changes will be much more noticeable when using the bottom tree Dawnblade in PvE than when using either of the Daybreak supers in the Crucible. That's because both of these buffs work very well together to improve the value of the Everlasting Fire perk. In case you're unfamiliar with it, Everlasting Fire extends your super's duration for every kill that you score with your super. This is similar to, but nowhere near as noticeable as the Trample perk and the Striker Titan's bottom tree. The difference here is that one Dawnblade attack can kill multiple opponents in a single hit, while the Striker Titan's light shoulder charge attack only hits one target at a time. With Bungie buffing the projectile's damage by nearly half, you can now kill more than just red bars with one attack. Before the patch, the smart way to play around the projectile's lack of boss DPS was to just clear all the weaker adds around you before finally switching over to the more powerful yellow bars and unloading what remained of your super onto them. Now, you'll be able to kill some of those surrounding elites as you clear waves of trash to extend your super. You can then dump whatever energy you have left over into hits on the boss. Of course, the duration buff is helpful for both versions of the Dawnblade super in PvP, although, again, good players using bottom tree with Everlasting Fire will see more value from this buff than will top tree players. This is due to the top tree super holding a total of only 6 Dawnblade projectiles. You will, however, have more time than you did before to jump around to find your next target. While we're talking about Dawnblade, I feel the need to point out that both the attunements of Sky and Flame are desperately in need of a top tier PvE exotic that interacts with their super and isn't Lunafaction boots. Solar Warlocks have a lot of options for the neutral game exotics, but they don't have anything on par with something like Ravenflux, Voidfang Pauldrons, or the Geomag Stabilizers. I suppose Everlasting Flame can be seen as filling that role, but it's only available to one of the subclass trees and it's nowhere near as good as something like the exotics I mentioned before. Moving on to Stormcaller Warlocks, it's your turn. Your super's Chain Lightning attack now hits one more target. That's it. Nothing else to see here. Go about your day. Saying anything else about this would be a blatant attempt to run out the clock. Alright, Voidwalkers. Time for some of you to be happy, and for the rest of you to sharpen your pitchforks. For the Cataclysm Nova Bomb Super, Bungie improved the initial detonation damage to 1,500 from the original value of just 900. They also expanded the detonation's radius from 8 to 10 meters. The secret projectile damage from the bolts that spawn after the large bomb's detonation had their damage buff from 205 to 300. Their ability to track targets was also significantly improved. These things went from being kinda sorta interested in whatever they were chasing to going after enemies like they owe them money. If you haven't already tried it, then you need, and I mean need, to put on your Skull of Daira Hamkara and Tractor Cannon and head into a Forge or Nightfall or something like that and try this new Nova Bomb out. In case you haven't used it since Forsaken launched and you've been, too busy out there with Nova Warp going all, mean boy, the Skull was redesigned to reward super energy after scoring kills with your Nova Bomb. More powerful enemies reward proportionally larger amounts of energy than weaker ones will, of course. Think of this helmet as a slightly weaker version of Year 1 Orpheus rig for Nova Bomb Warlocks. The improved tracking bolts will also reward super energy when they kill something, and it's very easy to end up with another Nova Bomb ready to fire once you get a good feel for how the energy return works. Adding Tractor Cannon into the equation means you'll be doing that much more damage to the boss. The Vortex Nova Bomb was also buffed in this patch, although due to the nature of the super itself, the changes are less impactful. The initial detonation was buffed from 900 to 1200 damage, so that's good. The damage enemies take while inside of the vortex was also improved, up to 23 per tick from the original 10. I've mostly used this super in the Crucible, where the bottom tree's Devour perk can be very powerful, and in my opinion kinda steals the show from Nova Bomb. Still, buffs are buffs, and I'm not gonna turn away more damage. Now for the parts that hurt, the nerfs to Nova Warp. Going down the list, we have a slightly slower movement speed in your super while charging. Additionally, both charging's initial and sustained cost were increased by 60%. Nova Warp's overall duration was decreased by 6.8 seconds. The super's damage resistance was dropped from 56 to 54%, so nothing too horrible there. To top it all off, your overall damage against other Guardians was decreased by 27%. So let's take a moment and examine each of these nerfs and what I think Bungie's intent was with them. The slower movement speed while charging, combined with a severe increase in charging cost and reduced super damage, have fundamentally changed how this super works in PvP. Before the changes, players could effectively just roam across the map as they willed and hold onto their charge attack, looking for a team of enemies to wipe out with that pre-charged explosion. Nova Warp is a very different kind of super now. I found the best use of this reworked Nova Warp is to lure an enemy team onto your position while you're in cover, and then activate your super to spring your trap. This also means you're going to have to make more effective use of map design, so you don't take too much damage from either a rapid fire shotgun or teams just melting you down pretty much instantly. You'll need to begin using vertical space in combination with sticking to and blinking out from behind cover if you want to get kills. The new Nova Warp specializes in punishing overly aggressive players and those who tunnel vision down lanes while not paying attention to their flanks. I personally think that Bungie could have gone with either A, the increased cost of using your attack, or B, reducing the super's duration and gotten the effect they were looking for. Together, these two changes were overkill. The Sandbox team threw the baby out with the bathwater on this one. This doesn't mean that you can't get value out of Nova Warp, it just means that how you get that value has changed. I hope my thoughts about its new playstyle can help you still enjoy this subclass. My thoughts on this aren't to stake my claim on being a god in the Crucible. I'm just an average player who usually goes positive in quick play. The points I presented are the overall sense I'm getting from these changes. Nova Warp was just too dominant in the eyes of Bungie and the player base. To all the Nova Warp mains out there, you have my sympathies. Being nerfed never feels good, even if the balance of the game needed it. Perhaps what's most painful about all of this is that Spectral Blades, the other super that everyone was complaining about being too strong, is still really strong. And it makes no sense that Bungie took such a severe approach with Nova Warp, but approached Spectral Blades with a kind of kid's glove methodology, right? Like, okay, we'll mess with the duration and the damage resistance, but we're going to let it remain powerful, and we're going to let it basically one or two shot supers depending. It doesn't make sense, does it? That you would go so hard on one super, but then leave the other one relatively intact. So this video completes my series on the super changes brought with the latest patch. There's something interesting I'd like to bring up before I close this video out. Bungie didn't make a single change to the Chaos Reach super or the Geomag Stabilizer exotic armor pieces. This strikes me as odd, considering how that super and exotic are heavily used to instantly destroy primeval bosses in Gambit when combined with the Sunbreaker Titan's Hammer Strike or a hit from the Tractor Cannon. This could, and I'm going to stick a nice big asterisk on could right there, be because of the upcoming changes Bungie plans on making to how Gambit works in the next season, which might make this strategy less effective. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that and other changes that you think might impact Warlocks and Gambit. That's all for now, Guardians. Thank you for watching, and leave your feedback in the comments. Your input helps guide how I create my content, and I'm truly thankful for those who leave constructive criticism aimed at improving the quality of what I produce. On that note, please hit the like button if you found the information in this video helpful. It means a lot to me and everyone here at Planet Destiny. You, the viewer, are why we do what we do, and we hope to continue providing that kind of content that keeps you well informed as a player and as a customer. If you feel like we're hitting that mark, then please also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications. Thank you all again, and have a great day.